Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat 1 video. In the Fall of Chaos Reigns, one of the biggest questions that has come out of it is who will be the next Sub-Zero. With Bi-Han's descent into Noob Saibot, the mantle of Sub-Zero is once again free and available to be taken. However, unlike prior timelines where Kuai Liang was seen as the ideal, perfect candidate, in this timeline, presumably void of his cryomancy skills, the floor is officially open for a new individual to arrive and fulfill that legacy. Now I know there is this wild, insane possibility that they do leave the title open, but Sub-Zero is one of the flagship characters of the series. And considering how he's been in pretty much every single possible Mortal Kombat game, it wouldn't feel right to leave him out in any capacity. So, with that in mind, who could fulfill such shoes, especially in that of the new era? Well, before we do begin, quick reminder as always, if you like what we do here and wish to see more, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you really want to support the channel, please give this video a thumbs up, as it goes a really long way of helping support the channel in the algorithm. Anywho, let's jump right into things, shall we? Now, there are indeed a handful of successors for this role, but let's start off with the most recognizable contender here, Kuai Liang. Now, Kuai himself has had a long illustrious history under the mantle, arguably having become the Sub-Zero, which made his switch to that of Scorpion in the present era a massive surprise to the status quo, as it's a huge alteration to the legacy of the character and their lineage, having seemingly detoured away from their cryomancy ancestors. Truth be told, such a line is yet to be re-established or mentioned for the new era, but even so, it was and still is a huge hit to that of the established norm, with Bi-Han being the only one to have wielded, or possibly inherited, cryomancy, whereas Scorpion now utilizes pyromancy, which is also quite different from that of the norm, as the prior Scorpion, Hanzo Hasashi, would utilize Hellfire. But that's also largely due to how this Scorpion operates in that of the present. So, would it be possible for Kuai Liang to become Sub-Zero again? Well, if I am to give a yes or no answer, it's actually probably steering towards yes. Whilst I think the deviancy and shift to that of Scorpion and pyromancy is the biggest obstacle right now, there's actually a lot of things already in motion here for such a change to occur. Because the integration of a young, youthful Hanzo Hasashi has already more or less set up passing the torch from Kuai Liang to Hanzo. That is something I have no doubt we will be seeing later down the line. Thus, if said title is to be relinquished, it only then really leaves Kuai one other option, and that's to reobtain the Sub-Zero mantle. So again, could I see this happening? Kind of? But very specific things have to happen for such a change to occur. You see, I believe they have purposely left the cryomancy lineage open and ambiguous, so that when they return for future installments, they can indeed reapproach this idea. So Kuai could indeed still have some unkindled cryomancy abilities, ones that right now are simply yet to be written in. But now we come on to the reason as to why Kuai would want to pick up such a tainted title, as it is one that is associated with the enemy, one that symbolizes betrayal. So why would he want to bear the enemy's mark? Well, that's hard to say honestly. The only reasons I could put together for why Kuai would want to reobtain this title is that he maybe want to restore some of the prestige that the title held. If it is truly useless to that of Bi-Han now, maybe Kuai seeks to honor his late father's memory by salvaging the mantle and showing that it can mean more than traitor. Now, my other idea is that if there is the very real possibility that Bi-Han is to die, then this may serve as a reason for Kuai to don his mantle, not to honor who he became in death, but to respect the memory of his brother who he saw. Maybe by obtaining this mantle of responsibility, Kuai would act and fight like how he saw his brother, a hero in his eyes. Because it would actually be something a bit akin to what we had in prior timelines. But again, that's all under the assumption of Bi-Han's demise. This now does take us onto our next contender here, and honestly, it's who I would say is both the most obvious yet risky pick, Frost. Now, as of making this video, Frost is yet to make her official New Era debut, despite serving as a cameo and appearing in Chaos Reigns, but she's yet to physically appear in person. However, with that said, there has been some ever so brief foreshadowing of her return during this time period, as an interaction between Xiao and Bi-Han does kind of hint at her existence here. Now, under the assumption that her origin is still the same, if she still is indeed as power hungry as the intro might hint at, would that be enough of a reason for her to obtain the Sub-Zero mantle? I don't think so. Frost is many things in the MK mythos, but I don't think becoming Sub-Zero would honestly do very much for her character. If she truly is aligned to that of the Lin Kuei, it would most certainly make sense. But Frost as a character has always kind of been largely eclipsed by the shadow of Sub-Zero. Thus, I think her obtaining that title would do nothing more than have her continue that title instead of standing on her own two legs. Frost maybe serving as a protege to Bi-Han would make more sense, especially with him formerly being a cryomancer. But beyond this, it's quite hard to say. Unfortunately, Frost kind of falls into this limbo between a rock and a hard place. Because if she remains a protege of Bi-Han, she's still largely limited to things we've already seen from her. That she either betrays her master, or if she's fully committed to Bi-Han, she would go on to feud with Kuai Liang. And even if she is elevated to that of Sub-Zero, she may wind up being engulfed in Bi-Han's shadow, as it will be him leading the clan. It's a very weird situation all around, thus I don't think giving her the title would really do much for her as a character. Plus, I do feel like it's worth pointing out the elephant in the room, but a full commitment to a gender-bend take on Sub-Zero would probably not go well with the fandom, even with Frost already established in the mythos. We've already seen the consequences of such a creative decision with Cyrax and Sector. Yeah, it makes a hell of a lot more sense here. But with all of the prior factors I've mentioned in mind, I couldn't see this going particularly too well for the fandom. Now we have my last and final suggestion here. And this is one I would actually like to see, as it's touching on a character that's been long overdue for a canon appearance. And that is the Lin Kuei member Hydro. And this is a particularly interesting case, because unlike characters like Ermac and Tremor, who have derived from rumors or intense fandom art, Hydro's existence is completely non-canon to that of the MK mythos, because originally he derived from the Malibu comic book series, and that was published all the way in the 90s, where MK was still kind of in its infancy, like the canon, lore and world hadn't been fully established, thus continuity was extremely flexible. In fact, most fans of Hydro have only come to know the character from the Machinima webisode series, Mortal Kombat Legacy, which also in itself did have a vastly different take on the character, but it was a depiction that still did keep the dream alive. So, who exactly was Hydro? Well, in short, Hydro was Sub-Zero's extremely brief protege during the Malibu comic book line, having joined him in attending the Mortal Kombat tournament, before he's then very swiftly defeated by Scorpion. So needless to say, his run was very quick here. And unfortunately, much can also be said of the anthology series for Mortal Kombat Legacy, where he would fall to the hand of Sector and Cyrax. So what do we know of Hydro outside of his track record? Well, in terms of abilities, Hydro does of course wield Hydromancy, but does in turn also dabble in Cryomancy, with his abilities granting him not only control over water, but also its temperature. So yes, it does actually make him a very viable candidate for Sub-Zero. Honestly, truth be told, Hydro is such an unexplored character that he's more or less completely malleable for the new era. And when you think about it, Hydro was the Frost before Frost, so he's honestly a really strong pick here. Plus, we gotta take into mind just how versatile his toolkit is, as it covers both the basis of Sub-Zero and up to a certain extent Rain. And you gotta keep in mind, with his ability to control water temperature, water freezes but it also boils, so he could have some really nasty stuff in his toolkit here. So this depiction of Sub-Zero we could get could have a very unique blend of styles, roots. And honestly, with how high of a demand we've had for this character, it is quite surprising to me that he's never officially been canonized. So if I think there was a window of opportunity for his debut, then I really do think now would be the perfect opportunity, being both a worthy successor with an expanded toolkit, and a nice little callback and homage to that of the Malibu comic book line. There's simply just a lot of favourable factors here that can go into this idea, so I could really honestly see it working. And with no prior origin or canon ties, it means he's completely flexible to be written into this role. So, with that said and everything I've laid out here, who do you think will be the next Sub-Zero? Who do you believe will be a worthy successor to the mantle? Do you think that Kuai should return back to that of his roots? Do you believe that Frost should be elevated to the title? Or do you think we should officially canonize Hydro? Please do comment down below, as I'd love to hear what you have to say. But for now everyone, that's been it for me. So as always, stay strong, stay well, and I'll catch you in the next one.